In this lesson, we'll explore the Transform Toolpath utility. We access that under the Utilities group of the Toolpaths tab. Now what Toolpath Transform does is it essentially copies the toolpath motion and places it along either a certain line or around a certain axis. So as an example, we have a part here that we want to repeat 3 more times for a total of 4 times. And if we take a look at the toolpaths used to create this geometry, I'm just going to go into Verify so we can briefly see what it's doing. And in Verify, we'll see that this toolpath is using dynamic motion to remove the 4 areas, and then it's cleaning out those areas, and then finally it's doing a chamfer. So we want to repeat that motion 3 additional times. Now, of course, there's multiple ways we can do that. We can copy the operations and reassociate geometry, or we can do a toolpath transform, and that's what we'll do now. So the toolpath transform dialog allows us to choose the type of transform. For example, translate, which is what we're going to do, essentially moves in a linear fashion. You could also rotate a toolpath. For example, if you had a reoccurring pattern that was rotated around a circular face, you could take that toolpath and pattern it in a circular motion. And we can also mirror a toolpath. If you had a right and a left-hand version of a part, you could mirror the toolpath motion to achieve that result. Depending on what type you choose here, your tab next to type and methods will show that option. So in this case, translate is selected, so translate is my option here. Here is where my source operations are, so I can specifically select the individual toolpaths that I want to translate, and I'm going to translate all 3 of them. There are many different options for this set of parameters, and we're not going to go through them all, but as an example for some, you can create new operations and geometry for your new toolpaths. You can also copy the source operation. So what this will do is it will make sure that my transform toolpath that results includes my original 3 in its result. And we'll show that as well. On the Translate tab, we can choose how we want to translate the geometry, or in this case, the toolpaths. Since I don't know the distances between these spacings, I'm not going to choose rectangular. I'm going to choose between points. And here, I can specifically choose where I'm going from and where I'm going to. So the from, I'll choose this corner. So I'm just going to choose this center arc. And the to will be that same piece of geometry on the next one. So this is where I'm going from, and this is where I'm going to. And I could choose the lower left corner, but then I would need to make sure I choose the lower left corner of the next part as well. And then for the instances, I'm going to choose 3. That's 3 that I'm copying. And let's click OK. So the toolpath gets created, and if we fit to our screen, we'll see that here's the original dynamic mill, here's the contour, and then here's the chamfer, and then we have a transform toolpath. And that transform toolpath takes everything and moves it over 3 times. So if we were to backplot this, we'll see that it's doing 1 toolpath on all 3, and then moving back and repeating it for the other toolpaths. But notice it's forgetting this one. That's because this one is contained up here. So I encourage you to go back into the parameters and adjust some of these settings. For example, copy the source operations, and disable posting will allow me to take this motion here and include it in the transform toolpath. So now let's click OK and regenerate, and we'll see what happens here. So as a result, our transform toolpath now includes the motion from the first one with all 4. And you'll also notice that we have these ghost symbols for the first 3 toolpaths. This prohibits the toolpath from being posted, which is ideal because we have all that motion included in the transform toolpath. Now, the other options that we have in here, which we'll not explore too much, will give you the opportunity, for example, to create new operations in geometry. This is very important if you have an older machine that perhaps doesn't have a tool change. Well, in this case, I would want to turn this on, and then my result would be multiple toolpaths down here, and I can select all of my chamfer tools first, and then all of my contours separate, and so forth. So again, I encourage you to go through here and explore these options, and perhaps find a sample file that allows you to rotate a toolpath as well. But the transform operations allows you to take an existing set of toolpaths and copy them onto other areas of your part or onto new parts.